this young MA, nigga. This Queen, this the Chinese food, this the strip club shit, nigga. You gonna find this on Flex, you gonna find this on all this other shit. This exclusive shit right here, nigga, you ain't gonna find nowhere. These 5 visuals, nigga, this ain't nothing. This ain't nothing you gonna ever hear on no mixtapes or none of that shit. This Frisco, nigga. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah, nigga. And then after that, the next 6 videos will be from Volume 1 to Volume 2. 3 off 1, 3 off 2, nigga. Music videos. This is just nothing but an illustration of me.
Born Marvin Watson Jr. in March 1976, right in the heart of San Francisco's Fillmore district, Messy Marv grew up in one of the Bay Area's most notorious war zones, the Eddy Street Projects. These weren't just rough neighborhoods. This was survival, crime, crack, violence, daily life. And for Marv, that chaos was background noise, normal. He bounced between unstable homes. His father was mostly absent. His mother struggled with her own demons. So by the time Marvin hit 10th grade, school felt like a joke compared to the streets. He dropped out. And like many young black men in 90s Fillmore, the corner became the classroom. But it wasn't all bleak. He had a cousin, San Quinn, a local up-and-comer already making moves in the Bay's underground hip-hop scene. San Quinn took young Marvin in. Literally, fed him, gave him a couch, gave him a mic. The mic became therapy. The booth became church. By the mid-90s, Messy was recording in makeshift studios around the Bay. His hunger was undeniable. He wasn't the best technical rapper, but his delivery, cold, angry, real. His voice cracked with pain, desperation, and pride. Fans from SF to Oakland started to take notice. That momentum led to his first full-length project, Messy Situations, released in 1996 under Ammo Records. It was gritty, unfiltered storytelling from a young man trying to survive. Tracks like Ghetto Blues and Game to be Sold painted a grim but honest picture of the Bay's underbelly. The album reportedly sold around 15,000 units, mostly through trunk sales, swap meets, and local record stores. It didn't go national, not yet. But in the Bay, Marv was already building something rare. A loyal, street-level fan base. No label support, no PR machine, just word of mouth and raw content. It was underground gospel. And most importantly, it gave Fillmore a voice. Marv didn't just rap about his hood, he represented it unapologetically. In 1998, Marv and San Quinn struck again. This time, they dropped a bomb on the West Coast, an album called Explosive Mode. It wasn't flashy. It didn't have major radio backing, but it hit hard. Bay Area heads recognized it instantly, a modern classic. The title was accurate. These two were live wires. E40 featured on Pop Yo Calla, adding mainstream weight, while Rappin' Forte brought street authenticity to Golden State. Sales? Over 50,000 units. Independently. That's real impact in pre-streaming days. It became one of the best-selling underground Bay Area records of the decade. At a time when California rap was either death row or nothing. Explosive Mode gave the Bay its own anthem. Marv's reputation began spreading. Suddenly he wasn't just a Fillmore rapper. He was a Bay Area problem. His name rang in Vallejo, Richmond, Oakland. The clubs played him, the streets memorized him, even LA and Vegas were getting wind of the buzz.
Hey, man. You know what I'm saying?
What's up with it, man? We out here with my man Messy Marv, bro. What's been happening, man?
Shit, man, trying to block. I can't hear, man. This part, though.
Like that.
You know, call it ill. Out here fucking around in Richmond, man. On my ass and my elbows and my bare feet, though, right? Back on my grizzly, though.
Back on it?
Near one bit of crazy. Crazy, man. Near one bit of a bitch-ass nigga, a fake-ass nigga. I could never be that, man. You feel what I'm saying, though? Right back outside, man.
By 1999, Messy dropped a solo follow-up, Death on a Bitch. If Explosive Mode was the breakout, this was the warning shot. Raw, meaner, more paranoid. Tracks like Hoes Ain't Shit and Kill a Snitch didn't just stir controversy. They told you exactly where his head was at. Critics and fans were divided. Some called it misogynistic, violent, immature. Others praised it as pure, unfiltered Bay Area gangster rap. But one thing was clear. Messy wasn't toning it down for anyone. He was building his own brand of street gospel. Grit over gloss. Real over radio. Meanwhile, his prolific output didn't slow. Features on other artists' tracks. Collabs with local legends like JT the Bigger Figure, Mac Dre, and Keek da Sneak. Marv was everywhere. Not on MTV, not on BET, but in the streets, at gas stations, barbershops, liquor stores. He was heavy rotation. By the early 2000s, Messy Marv had already established himself as a Bay Area heavyweight. But he was hungry for more. He wasn't content with just local fame. He wanted national recognition. And he was willing to fight his way into it. In 2001, he dropped Still Explosive. This wasn't just another Fillmore project, it was a signal, a message. The album featured E40 again, but this time also included a rising R&B singer from Oakland named Keisha Cole. At the time, Cole wasn't the household name she would later become, but even then, her soulful hooks brought balance to Marv's aggression. Songs like That's Nothing and Make It Happen carried more polish, more structure. Marv was adapting. He still had street grime in his bars, but he was shaping it into something more marketable. It was evolution. The buzz started creeping beyond the Bay. CDs began moving in LA, Vegas, Phoenix. Independent retailers started stocking him alongside big-name artists. And slowly, the rest of the West Coast began to pay attention. I inherited a cocaine habit. I grew up on it. It was everywhere. It became part of me. The street fame, the money, the late-night sessions, it blurred with paranoia, trauma, and heavy self-medication. What started as hustle music was now masking serious pain. Friends say he was no longer the same. Angry, paranoid, isolated. The hunger he once had for rap was replaced by a need for numbness. And the industry? It started turning away. By 2013, Messy Marv had already battled injuries, addiction, and industry silence. But what happened next would shake the Bay Area rap scene and drag his name through the mud like never before. It was supposed to be a comeback. Marv was booked to perform in Reno, Nevada, on a small tour circuit. But from the moment he arrived, the energy was off. That night, a shooting broke out inside the venue. Chaos. The crowd scattered. Then, just hours later in the early morning, Marv was ambushed at the Sands Regency Hotel. Pistol, whipped, robbed, bloodied. They took his chain, his dignity, and made sure the world saw it. A video of the aftermath leaked online. Marv dazed, dripping blood, surrounded by men mocking him. But the worst part? They hijacked his social media accounts, using his platforms to humiliate him in real time. It wasn't just a beatdown. It was a digital crucifixion. Within hours, memes, posts, and taunts flooded Twitter and YouTube. Fans were shocked. Others laughed. His enemies celebrated. Messy later claimed the robbery was planned, that it was about clout, not beef. He said he didn't provoke it, but it didn't matter. The image of Messy Marv, slumped and bloodied in a Reno hotel hallway, that became a meme before he had a chance to defend himself. The Reno incident also fueled beefs with Bay Area rappers like Filthy Rich, Mr. F.A.B., and even his old circle. Public shots were fired, on wax and on Instagram. Marv responded with diss tracks, but the damage was done. The street smelled blood. And the industry? Once again, it turned its back. After Reno, the industry didn't just turn away. It shut the door. Booking dried up. Collaborators kept their distance. Labels stopped answering. What was once a respected Bay Area icon was now a cautionary tale. Between 2014 and 2017, Messy Marv became a fixture in courtrooms. He was arrested multiple times for drug possession, domestic violence, and parole violations. Mugshots started surfacing more than mixtapes. The same blogs and YouTube channels that once pushed his music were now covering his downfalls. Headlines like, Messy Marv back in jail again. Another drug charge for Bay Area rapper. Fall of a legend. In 2018, disturbing photos surfaced. Messy Marv, sitting on a street curb in San Francisco, shirtless, with a bag of belongings at his feet. He looked thin, frail, disoriented. Word started spreading fast. Messy Marv was homeless. Some fans refused to believe it. Others said they'd seen him around the Tenderloin district, high, confused, arguing with people who weren't there. It was no longer just rumors. It was visible, real. He hadn't dropped a real album in years. No promo, no press. His name only trended when something went wrong. And it kept going wrong. By now, the man who once sold out Bay Area clubs and rapped next to Nate Dogg was sleeping on benches in the city he once put on the map. But homelessness wasn't the end. It was only the bottom of a much darker slide. By 2019, Marv was barely recognizable, not physically, but mentally. Social media became his last stage, and what fans saw wasn't the Messy Marv they remembered. He started posting unhinged videos, rambling rants, often shirtless, pacing, sweating, sometimes threatening other rappers, other times talking to himself. The energy was erratic, paranoid, manic. He accused his former peers of setting him up, said the FBI was watching, claimed he was still the king of the Bay, even if he had nothing. Fans didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or look away. One viral video showed him holding a spoon and lighter, mid-fix, speaking nonsense to the camera. It was taken down hours later, but not before racking up over 200,000 views. Another showed him outside a liquor store, yelling into traffic, daring enemies to run up. Some said he was off PCP. Others said it was meth. Maybe both. It became clear Messy Marv wasn't just struggling financially. He was unraveling mentally. Then in 2004, Messy dropped one of his most talked about albums, Disobeyish. The name said it all. He wasn't following industry rules. He wasn't trying to fit a mold. But the guest list, that showed real momentum. To Hort, a certified legend, and Nate Dogg, the king of West Coast hooks.
This nigga couldn't wait to get his ugly ass face on Instagram to say something to me, nigga. You bitch ass nigga. Who the fuck you talking to, J Diggs, you bitch? You crab nigga? Monkey man. Monkey man's here, mommy. Monkey shit face ass man is at the door. Nigga, hi son. You bitch ass nigga. You couldn't wait, nigga. Nigga, this the biggest thing, nigga, that ever happened to you, nigga. When you got on Instagram and said something about me today, huh?
These weren't favors. These were cosigns. Tracks like Hypnotic showcased a smoother, more calculated Marv. The production was tighter, his flow more deliberate. He was no longer just a Bay rapper, he was a businessman with bars. Critics noticed. While some reviewers still criticized the content as misogynistic and scattered, others saw the growth. Rap reviews said he was finally walking the line between the street and the stage. He wasn't selling out, but he wasn't holding back either. By 2006, Messy Marv had another play, Hustlin.aire. This time, he brought in Birdman, yes, Cash Money Records Birdman, and Keegda Sneak, one of the faces of the Bay Area's hyphy movement. It was a cross-regional move, bridging the streets of San Francisco with the industry clout of New Orleans. And it worked. Messy started appearing in more blogs. His name popped up in mixtape reviews, small radio stations out east. His music was being passed around in Houston, Detroit, even parts of the South. For a guy who started pushing CDs out of the trunk of a '95 Oldsmobile, it was a statement. Messy Marv was no longer underground. He was knocking on the front door of national exposure. By the mid-2000s, Messy Marv had broken out of the Bay, but not in the traditional sense. He wasn't getting Grammy nominations or headlining major tours. Instead, his music was circulating through the underground highways of the rap game. In mixtape shops, on burnt CDs passed around neighborhoods, on low-budget DVDs played in barbershops from Texas to Chicago. Tracks like Get On My Hype and So Hood were doing numbers on MTV Jams, a channel that, at the time, was a lifeline for regional artists trying to break national. These weren't Billboard chart toppers, but they resonated deeply with fans in the streets. Marv's music spoke a specific language, brutal honesty mixed with Bay swagger, and it started to connect with listeners who'd never even stepped foot in California, fans in the Midwest, the South. Even parts of New York were bumping his records in trap houses, on late-night drives, in back-alley dice games. But the real shift came with a trilogy, the Cake and Ice Cream series, starting in 2008. The first installment was solid, but Cake and Ice Cream 2, released in 2009, was different. It cracked into the Billboard Top 40 for R&B hip-hop albums, debuting at number 39. An impressive feat for an independent release with almost no mainstream promo. This time, Marv didn't hold back on features. The project boasted verses from Gucci Mane, E40, and the late Jacka, a who's who of respected street voices. The production was tighter, the visuals better, the reach wider. Songs like Talk Chowski, Talk Baseball, featuring Gucci, brought him into the Southern conversation. The slang, the bravado, the code of the streets. Messy was speaking in a language that made sense in Atlanta just as much as it did in Oakland. He was one of the few Bay Area artists who could drop a project with no label machine, no radio play, and still end up in car stereos in Baton Rouge, St. Louis, Memphis. His approach wasn't about mass appeal. It was about authenticity. And it worked. Even as blogs like Two Dope Boys and Dat Piff started listing his tapes, Messy Marv still kept his core audience. He never watered it down. He didn't chase pop. He chased truth. And that gave him reach beyond the Bay. Just as Messy Marv was beginning to see national traction, his momentum took a violent detour. What happened next wasn't a diss track, a failed record, or label politics. It was something far more personal and far more destructive.
Rap status, can I have some fun for one day? Y'all see me change, get my drawers, nigga, jump around this motherfucker and say Frisco. Nigga, can I have fun for one motherfucking day, man? Shout out Rap Status, y'all got it first. We live, nigga. We fucking around, man. It feels good to be home. I told Fats, I told Say, like I told P-Dog, like I told my niggas, man, on that EB, man, I said, I didn't give a fuck. When I bump about this ill, though, when I come about this cell, man, I'm coming to San Francisco, nigga. Boo, nigga. Whoop. If I got to stand around this Hunters Point, this Lakeview, Say, Rip Swoop, Rip Keys.
In the early 2000s, while on tour out of state, Marv had what would become one of the most bizarre and tragic episodes of his career. Allegedly under the influence, paranoid, disoriented, he thought someone was out to kill him. So he did the unthinkable. He jumped out of a fourth-story hotel window. No Hollywood stunt team. No safety net, just straight concrete. He shattered his legs, crushed one of his feet, and had to be rushed into emergency surgery. Doctors told him he might never walk again. For 6 months, Messy Marv was confined to a wheelchair, unable to perform, unable to move, stuck with his demons. But Marv being Marv, he didn't stop. He showed up to perform anyway, wheeled onto stages, spitting bars with a cast on and painkillers running through his veins. He said the crowd gave him strength, but the truth? He was spiraling. Behind the curtain, addiction had become a full-time monster. Cocaine, crack, and according to his own accounts, methamphetamine. In one rare moment of self-awareness, Marv would later say, the man who once stood next to Gucci, Birdman, and Keisha Cole was now a ghost of himself, wandering the same streets he once rapped about, shouting into the void. No label, no manager, no support, Just pain and an iPhone camera recording it. Even after the public meltdowns, after the streets claimed him, Messy Marv didn't disappear completely, because deep down, he still believed there was something left to prove.
Out here fucking around in Richmond, man. On my ass and my elbows and my bare feet, though, right? Back on my grizzly, though.
Back on it?
Near one bit of crazy. Crazy, man. Near one bit of a bitch-ass nigga, a fake-ass nigga. I could never be that, man. You feel what I'm saying, though? Right back outside, man.
Between 2020 and 2023, Marv would periodically resurface, dropping tapes, freestyles, or rushed features. Projects like Still Marked for Death, The Shooting Range, and Millionaire Gangsta 5 hit streaming platforms, but barely made a dent. There was no promo, no rollout, no structure, just fragments of the old Marv, raw verses, angry punchlines, moments of clarity buried in chaos. In 2021, a short-lived rumor spread that Marv was in rehab, that maybe he was trying to get clean, to stabilize, to write again. But then he was spotted on the street just weeks later, looking even worse. The hope faded as fast as it came. Some fans stayed loyal. They posted his old tracks, called him underrated, reminded others who he used to be. But the industry? It never welcomed him back. Gatekeepers had moved on. Algorithms had buried his name. His old collaborators, San Quinn, E40, even the Jackass camp, hadn't worked with him in years. Some said bridges were burned. Others just stayed silent. There were moments of near redemption. A freestyle here, a decent verse there. But there was no full circle comeback. Just echoes of what could have been. There are stories in hip-hop that end in triumph. Then there are stories that serve as warnings. Messy Marv's legacy? It lives in both shadows. To some, he'll always be a Bay Area legend. A man who gave the city a voice, who brought rawness to the mic when it wasn't safe or marketable. He made music for the hustlers, the grinders, the ones living in the corners of the world no one films. Explosive Mode, Disobeyish, Cake and Ice Cream. These weren't just albums. They were lifelines. And to this day, there's rappers from Sacramento to Oakland to Vallejo who say, if it wasn't for Mess, I wouldn't have picked up a pen. But there's another legacy too, the darker one. The legend who fell so far, it became hard to remember how high he ever climbed. A man consumed by addiction, betrayal, and his own demons. In a time where mental health is finally part of the conversation, Messy Marv stands as a haunting reminder of what happens when the pain is ignored. When the fame is fast and the trauma runs deep. Is he gone? No, not yet. But the question isn't about his discography anymore. It's whether he'll find peace before it's too late. Because behind every messy headline, every viral meltdown, there was once a kid from Fillmore, hungry, driven, gifted, and misunderstood. And maybe that's the real tragedy of Messy Marv. He never stopped being real. He just stopped being heard. If you found this story compelling, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more gritty deep dives into hip-hop and Hollywood's most complex figures.